pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, well, welcome back after a long recess, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, roll call. And also, because of the location and the echo in the building, just make sure you're speaking into the mic. And if you need to, you can pick it up and move it closer to you. Chair Douglas Durlich.
Present?
Vice Chair Richard Clark.
Present.
Member C.D. Lewis Jr.
Present.
Member Bobby Brandt.
Present.
Member, well, Ms. Dampier, she provided notice that she would be absent this evening. Paula Stark.
Here.
Tony Jones.
Here.
Elizabeth Lamug. Absent. Jeffrey Gernslauer. Absent. And we do have a quorum.
All righty, next order of business is approval of minutes.
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All righty, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, approved. All right, new business.
Good evening, Andre Anderson, Community Development Director. It's a pleasure to be here again after, as the chairman said, a long vacation. I just want to take a moment to introduce a new staff member to the city and also to this board, and that is Anastasia Barnes, and she's in the audience. She is a new principal planner with the Planning and Zoning Division and will be your point of contact for this board. She has quite a bit of experience in historic preservation. She came to us from the Tampa Bay area and has relocated here, and as I said, has had quite a bit of extensive experience in that in historic preservation, so she will be a very good resource moving forward. Of course, as you know, Trevor Bedford, who was the planner assigned to you, he has since gotten a new job, a promotion, and is in further north in another county. So anyway, I just want to make that introduction, and I guess he's not here. I think that's all I need to do for this point. I will go on to the next item, if you don't mind, which is the approval of the 2021 meeting schedule, and it's in your book. It should be further in. And those are the dates that are proposed for 2021, being January 12th, March 9th, May 11th, July 13th, September 14th, and November 9th. Of 2021.
I do have a question to the schedule. I know previously, Andre, we had all discussed as a board whether or not we needed to meet again more often, especially now since we haven't met for months. You know, I think there's a lot of things that are happening as it relates to our historic preservation and some things going on. Some of the reports, like the city's going to be workshopping with city council and however that's moving forward on the inventory report that has now been completed. We just kind of got the final in our hand the last part of last week. So I think there's a lot of parts and pieces to that may encourage us to meet more often so that we can break some of those pieces down. Especially when we kind of ended at the last meeting, we talked about bringing all of our original goals forward so we could review them. I think those are going to be integrated into the report because there are recommendations that were put in that report, I think, that cross over into our goals. So I don't know how everybody else feels, but I think if we're going to gain momentum and keep us all on track, we probably should meet more often.
If I may respond to that?
Sure.
So please understand and remember that the dates that are identified are the minimum dates. That does not prevent this board from meeting more often. But if we establish dates that are more often and unable to meet them, it becomes a little more challenging. So, these dates are at the very minimum that we would ask the board to meet. Doesn't mean that you can't meet every month if you so choose. It's a simple matter of the scheduling the meeting. We can surely identify the additional dates if you so desire to have those additional meetings, but we can still post the minimum meeting dates as being 6 per year, and then you can always meet at your discretion.
I
So
noticed
my-
under item 8 in the information section, we are having a meeting next month on November 10th.
That has been since adjusted because we had to cancel that date in favor of another meeting that got canceled because of another meeting that got canceled. I apologize for the train there, but we had to, because the meeting was scheduled for November 11th. That's Veterans Day, so we had to move the meeting to the 10th. Then we realized that this board is on the 10th, so we had to move that. So
If
We're
I
making-
may,
yes.
I wanted to just tag onto what Paula had said. My concern is, while there have been other meetings going on, even on Zoom or some other things with, in regards to other groups and other boards, our group has not been meeting, so that's been a concern of mine throughout the COVID. And I just wanted to agree with Paula. I definitely do feel that we should start meeting more, especially as new things are going on. My concern with us we can meet or just proposing just these. My concern, of course, would be that that won't happen if we don't put those down now and prioritize this board, because my concern is that we're not prioritized.
okay, again, that's your call. Understand that when we set these dates, these go to the state, and because we're a CLG, we're expected to meet those times, whatever times we identify in our bylaws. Now, of course, our bylaws would probably need to be adjusted to reflect those changes. So it's you make the motion tonight, you make a decision, we would then bring it back with a bylaws amendment to revise the meeting dates, because that gets sent to the state and we have to maintain that standard. Again, we are happy to do whatever the board likes.
So Andre, for clarification purposes, are you saying since the November one was moved that we don't have another meeting until January?
No, the
Okay.
November meeting will occur. We just haven't found a good date yet.
Okay,
But we
you're
will
trying to
have
figure it out.
Yes, trying to figure it out, but we will have a meeting in November.
And Andre, will one of the cases on that November meeting, in fact, with regard to that property at 1012 Massachusetts?
Yes, the meeting that's the special meeting for November is for that purpose.
Because they're going to be ready to go with the construction, and they can't do that without having that certificate of appropriateness.
Yes, I am aware. This was a decision that I made because this is a city-owned structure that we need to ensure that we follow our own standards that we established in the Historic Preservation Board. And as such, I did not feel that they were meeting those standards, and I wanted to give this board the opportunity to review it and to make a recommendation of whether it was appropriate or not.
Thank you.
So with that, do we have a motion?
I make a motion to adopt the schedule as presented for the minimum number of scheduled meetings for 2021.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
All right, I'm gonna need hands then.
I think there was
So we had
three.
two nays?
No.
Tony was a nay.
Two yeses and 2 nays.
Yeah. You had 2 yeses and 3 nays, I believe. Bobby? You were
I'm a nay.
No, I'm a yay.
You're a yay or a nay?
Jesse,
You're a yay.
Jesse, could you
Okay,
please just
sorry.
call roll?
Oh, yes,
Thanks.
let's do that.
We can't hear Tony.
Chair Dearlich,
Yay.
Vice Chair Clark,
Yay.
Member Lewis,
Yay.
Member Bryant,
Nay.
Member Stark,
Nay.
Member Jones,
Yay.
so we have
Jesse.
4-2.
Jesse, you also have Ms. Lemog over here.
She's
Oh, she's
an
an-
alternate.
Okay.
So does it pass?
So it
So it
passes
passes.
Thank you.
4-2.
All right, we all understand that we can call additional meetings as we see fit.
At this time, I will turn over to Annie to walk you through the next item.
Before you start, welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. My name is Anastasia Barnes. I am the new principal planner. I do go by Annie, so most people will know me by my nickname if you ask for me at City Hall. Okay, so the next order of business is the Certificate of Appropriateness for 918 New York Avenue. And I'm going to begin the PowerPoint. So this is regarding a request for exterior alterations to an existing rear addition to a historic structure and a new accessory structure. It'll be an open-air pavilion. The Mackinson's furniture and hardware store is a contributing structure in the historic district. And next. So little background. This is a snip of the 1915 Sanborn fire insurance map. As you can see, the original masonry and stone structure is shown. There is an addition in front. North, that is now currently the parking lot, if you know the area. The next is the 1924 Sanborn fire insurance map. Still the same. The footprint hasn't changed for the structure in question. So here is a really cool historic photograph of found online on the, I believe it's Florida Memories website. And the structure itself looks relatively the same compared to today regarding its facade on New York Avenue. So the picture to the left is the facade on New York Avenue, and then just so you can see the rear addition, the green rear addition that is already attached, facing, this is like the south elevation if you're looking north. So this is if you are standing in, this is the elevation if you're standing in the parking lot. And this is the north elevation. So as you can see on top, there's the original historic structure, and to the rear, the attached and existing green metal building. This is facing east and the property facing west. And then this below, the elevation shows it's not attached, the open air pavilion. So you can see in relation to the existing structure. There will be changing of windows and doors on this rear addition. The siding there will be a lap siding added on top of this. And then this includes an elevation of the pavilion in front of what would be the existing structure. This is the elevation that has additional openings, but as we get further into the presentation, the structure is not historically significant. It's not shown on any of the Sanborn maps. It doesn't create a sense of, it doesn't have a historic integrity or significance. So into the standards in the Land Development Code. So I went through, and it will be in your staff report, every qualification or standard for the Secretary of the Interior standards for rehabilitation. So the first is a property will be used as it was historically or given in a use that requires minimal change to its distinctive features, materials, spaces, and spatial relationships. So the proposed use is a restaurant and bar. The new use will not, the building's already attached for the rear addition, so there's no new attachments to the historic original footprint of the building. So the removal of, there will be no removal of historic features of the existing structure. The rear addition will be different and obviously not creating a false sense of history. And the open air pavilion will not be attached in any way. So it's totally separate from any existing structures. Again, they're not imitating any historic period or time. You can tell that the addition is different and new, and not integral to the integrity of the original structure. The metal addition, if you look at it, you can definitely tell it's not historic in its own right. There's no sense of feeling whenever you run through the 7 aspects of integrity. That's how the National Register determines historical significance. It is not, it doesn't meet the standards or has little integrity, if any. Again, the building is attached, so you're not altering the existing structure. And the existing structure will remain as is, and the rear addition is different. Number 7 doesn't really pertain to this, or 8. And 9 and 10 probably are the most pertinent to this project. It doesn't destroy any historic materials, and the rear addition is visibly different and will remain visibly different with new materials. And then the last, you could definitely remove the addition, and the original structure will remain relatively unchanged. Any attachments have already been made. It's not like there's any new proposed attachments. And the pavilion itself will be separate as well. So here we come to the board requested action. Staff would recommend approval of this application, but per section 3.24.3 F2 of the Land Development Code, you as the board have the power and duty to hold public hearings and approve or deny applications for certificates of appropriateness. And I'm available for any questions you may have.
Do we happen, just out of curiosity, to know when that addition was added?
So I did contact the property appraiser, and they could not, they had an aerial they sent to me. It was too blurry to make out. A lot of times on historic tax rolls, you can tell when something, something was added to the roll. I could not locate that. And then other than fire, fire insurance maps, it's not on there. So hopefully that answers your question.
All right, any comments?
I'd like to ask,
Yeah.
has the city taken a position on their application?
As I stated, I would recommend approval based upon my experience and staff's recommendation.
Okay, well, I'm usually the negative nanny, so I'll go.
Okay.
So I do have some concerns.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
If you want them to present, I may ask questions and then he'll know what he wants to explain to me if you'd like. Ray, I have a lot of questions, so we'll just go there. But there's not just the integrity, because I'm all about historic preservation. Should just know that right off bat. And I think we are lagging a little behind in some of the things that we should have put in place as a board. I think we should have put our local standards in place, which are not. We're only going by the Secretary of Interior standards, which is one of the things that we were supposed to review until COVID hit. So we're kind of like, behind that little situation where we would have addressed that prior to this coming to us. But you don't only have the Makinson's building that's facing the other way and having to deal with the building on the back. You also have the People's Bank building, which is right next door to where the pavilion is going to be. So as a board, we have to take both of those buildings into consideration. And even though it's new and supposedly, it has to look like it fits in. It is a historic district, so it has to look like that. And these are great renderings, but they're renderings and they look like a metal thing. So if Ray and Zach have something they can share with us that makes it more visually understanding what it's going to look like, that would be very helpful. I also have some concerns with the outlines over the roofs. Even though it isn't going to attach, where is the water going to run off of this pavilion, where you have these other buildings that are going to be close by? So I think that has to be taken into consideration as well.
Can I just note on that?
Sure.
In your staff report that was submitted into the record, there was in the process of a mini site development plan. So I'm sure engineering will look at that and building will look at that as well, because that's part of the mini site development plan application. And then also or already has been, it just has to be recorded, lot reconfiguration as well to combine the two lots, just so you know.
Okay.
Background. Is it okay if
Sure.
the applicant addresses?
Absolutely. We want to hear from them.
Thank you for considering our project. So, can I show you all this?
Sure.
Could we go ahead and just get your name for the record? and all
Ray
that?
Parsons, address is 117B Broadway, Kissimmee. But one of the things that it's hard to capture a feeling with a line drawing, but I think this rendering does a little bit better. It's not a construction rendering; it's more of a concept rendering.
Give it to Paul.
Well, I think they have to.
So, an important part of the pavilion is going to be the landscaping that's going to go around it. And we're leaving approximately 12 feet between 10th Street and the pavilion for really what will be extensive landscaping that I think is going to really highlight some of your streetscape efforts that you're doing on 10th Street. And we're going to have really nice landscape lighting, nighttime lighting. I think it's going to look really nice. The columns themselves will be white, and the background lap siding of the existing green building, after we put the new, it'll be the hardy board lap siding. So it'll look like a brand new building. It's going to be kind of a light blue trimmed in white, kind of a light blue gray. And I think it's going to look really clean and fresh and good and compatible with what you're doing on 10th Street. As far as the activity of the pavilion, it's more of a kind of a nighttime atmosphere that will be an extension of the restaurant. So, you know, there could be some, like a single musician or somebody out there. And if you try to get the image, we saw some facilities very similar to this in St. Petersburg. And it was really nice. But they had a musician, outside dining, the landscaping, nighttime landscape lighting, and with what they're doing with the hotel across the street, I think it could really be visually an anchor for your downtown. The actual structure, the roof line, is will match basically the roof structure of, was it a train station right across the street?
The depot.
On New York, yeah. So we're trying to use some of the same construction materials that y'all use throughout the downtown. And I think it'll be very compatible.
So,
Collins round or square?
Square.
Pardon me?
Collins round or square?
Or square.
The columns will be square, but they'll have like a base trim and then a capital molding around the top. They'll be very kind of ornate, decorative columns, kind of a Doric type style column, but you know, very clean. It'll look good. It's not going to be like a 4x4 pressure treated post. It'll be nice. The
so
ceiling-
I have a couple of questions, Ray. Number one, you mentioned the lighting. So when you go to do the accessory kind of pieces, like the lighting around it, are those going to be taken into consideration that would like blend in with other designs in downtown? I mean, a lot of the lighting we already have, the city's replaced some lighting and things like that. So if everything could be somewhat conducive to one another, and we don't have all these different designs, you know, that would be more amenable, I think. And I also still would like to know if you have considered, or if the water runoff from one building to the next has been taken into consideration, even though it may go to engineering. I mean, I'd like for this board to at least feel comfortable with that.
Yeah, just to address the lighting, the light fixtures themselves probably won't be a dominant element. The lighting that we have in mind is more accent lighting, like it'll be ground lighting that will light the landscaping and the vegetation more than a fixture that you'll be seeing. So we want subtle lighting that really enhances kind of the landscaping and some of the visual features that we want people to see. So yeah, I don't think it's going to be something that would contrast with what you're doing. The water runoff is there would be a gutter system that would be both on the roof line of the pavilion and on the roof line of the existing building. So it'd be two gutters, one on the pavilion roof to catch that water, and then one on the existing roof line. And it basically takes it to both ends of the building and discharges it on the existing asphalt. And there's a storm drain within 15 feet of where the water will spill out. But it really doesn't go anywhere it doesn't already go. So we've met engineering down there, and I met with, I can't remember her name right now, but She's in charge of the streetscape design, and showed her what we were doing, and everybody seems to be on board with what we're doing. One thing that we felt like was really critical was the transition between the Pavilion and 10th Street streetscape. So we wanted to make sure we got that line at our property line right, so it looked appropriate.
Right.
But-
And so the board knows that is a very critical aspect, even under the Secretary of Interior standards, is the view from the streets and how that changes your historic view. And one of the reasons, Ray, that I'm kind of being a little pickier than maybe normal is you're kind of like our guinea pig. So just so you know, what we decide up here that is appropriate or isn't appropriate kind of sets a little bit of the standard of where we would be able to go on other things that come in front of us. So that's why I want everybody to be thoughtful about, what it is we're going to do. And as long as you understand that. And I know you've done these kind of things plenty of times and you do wonderful work and we love it. So I just want to make sure that that discussion is being held. Because I think it's important for St. Cloud for us to set the right standard for what we think the vision should be. And because we've had a lot of things that have already gone, so we need to make sure that this is where we want to be.
Yeah, we feel a little bit of pressure from that because we realize we are one of the first to come in with a new structure like this, and we want to get it right. I think you're going to be happy with
Okay.
the final product.
Andre, can you clarify, is the ancillary structure the pavilion as well as the facade of the changeover being required to meet the new architectural standards for the city? Yes, Andre.
And Ray, before you leave, I'll have another question. Go ahead, Andre.
I just wanted clarification as far as what the city's reviewing from a mini site plan.
Yes, any new structure within the city limits of St. Cloud must follow the new non-residential architectural standards.
So the structures are going to be meeting that, so that part of that already takes care of what the expectations are as far as detailing, architectural detailing that is expected.
That's
Except for the historic district, standards should be somewhat different than the whole city. So we'll just make that point.
And that is something that this board can
That's right.
mandate and offer, proffer, and approve as a board. And that is why the mini site plan and all the other approvals are being held until this board acts. And that will be further guidance for how we review the mini site plan and any other approvals subsequent to this meeting.
Do you have another question? Paul?
Well, I have an unrelated question because this is a whole different vote. But while we have you here, I wanted to see if we could get you to share with us what the plans are for the two buildings and any changes or upgrades that you would be doing to the facades, say, for the original Makinson building, because that is historic. And we just need to realize that the Makinson building and the People's Bank building are both identified as historic locations that would qualify for the National Register. So we have to be cognizant of those things. So that's why I'm asking about the building itself.
Yeah, we really don't plan on changing any of the facade of the Mickinson building as it fronts on New York. There's a couple of the windows are broken. We'll replace them with glass that matches the existing glass. Other than that, there really won't be any change. Now, in years, time to come, there may be something come up. I guess we'd be glad to bring it back. It's probably a better way to do the awning system in the front, but that's not our plan right now. No, it's a brick building, so we don't really want to mess with the brick. And the doors are old, but I don't know if they're their original doors, but they could be. I mean, they're like solid wood, and they, you know, we're not replacing the doors. So just talk a little bit about the inside. We're bringing back the wood floors, the original wood floors. We've already refinished them. We weren't able to save the tin ceiling, but we did refinish the exposed beams on the inside. So we're saving all those, and it looks real nice. It turned out real well. I think you'll be happy. You know, we're leaving the old knob and tube wiring pieces. We're taking out the actual wires, but the actual knob and tubes we're leaving in the joist, so you can kind of see how it worked in the old days. We're trying to allow people to get a glimpse of how the building functioned, I guess 100 years ago or more now, but yeah, we're conscious of trying to preserve that character.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Any other comments? I mean, the way I understand this now, the historic part of the building is being left alone.
Yes, that's what Ray is saying. There's some question about the back part of the building. I can find out about the back part of the building. I just need to get in front of my computer.
But the rear part that's there is going from the old vertical siding to a shiplap siding. So it's moving more in the historic character, which would then blend it into the district. And the pavilion is set in the same character. Okay.
Yeah, that's what Ray is saying, that,
Okay.
that the look will be in character.
Yep. Wooden columns. I'm assuming exposed wood joist work underneath, or is that going to be closed off underneath the metal roof of that pavilion?
The plan is to use, it's a vinyl, like a lap ceiling material that looks like the old bead board they used in ceilings on porches years
Okay.
ago, but
So it'll be a closed off one, so
yeah,
better for maintenance long term.
right.
Understood. Thank you.
All right, is there any public comment? I'll take that as a no. All righty, do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve,
Second.
knowing that Ray will take all of my concerns to heart.
I second the motion.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes.
So the next item that was on the agenda is 1012 Massachusetts Avenue, and that has been pulled because we needed more time, staff needed more time to provide a thorough review of that item. So it will be coming back next month once we establish a date for the meeting in November.
Mr. Chair,
Tony?
did we,
Talk into the microphone, please.
sorry, did we take action on the minutes from the March 10th meeting?
Yes, we did.
And I just slept right through it. Sorry.
All right, is there any public comment at all? We'll take that as a no. All right, next meeting is to be determined.
That's correct. Thank you.
All righty. Is there anything anybody else has for the good of the group?
Yes, please, Doug, if you don't mind. Andre, do you have any idea after the council meeting last week? I don't know if anyone spoke to you in reference to a workshop on the updated inventory report.
No, no one has made a request yet, but I'm aware. I was
Okay.
at a meeting.
Okay.
I'm aware of the board's direction to hold a meeting as soon as possible. So we will identify the next meeting date. As you know, the council is only meeting once in November and once in December.
Right.
And the next city council workshop is tomorrow night, actually. And so more than likely, if they want to meet in December, that would probably be the earliest date that we can probably
Okay.
get a workshop. with the
I just wanted to make sure that you were aware of it, and also to bring up the point that I think when we workshop, perhaps we should have the workshop with this board at the same time. So if we bring Laura Lee or whoever in, that everybody can hear it at the same time.
Yes, so that might work theoretically. Logistically, it might not because of COVID-19 and the ability to have both boards in a room. We have been challenged by the governor's decision to hold virtual meetings, and he has now extended it till November 1st. And so after November 1st, unless he extends it again, the city council will be meeting here in this room, and there won't be enough room to have everyone on this dais unless we put tables all the way around the room. So it's going to be a little difficult to do it logistically, but we'll definitely consider that and figure out a solution if there's one.
Yeah, it would certainly be easier on our consultants if
I understand.
you know,
but-
because they're not like next door.
I understand,
Yeah.
but again, at the same time, we have to err on the side of caution and public safety. So if we need to hold that meeting virtually, just with the HPB, we may need to do that, or if we need to hold both meetings virtually, again, assuming that the governor extends the
Right.
communication media technology criteria.
Well, I guess we could always do the workshop with the council and then have the Historic Preservation Board come in virtually so they can at least hear it.
So
No?
we've
Doesn't work
tried-
that way?
We've tried that, and there is a challenge with having a hybrid meeting at this location. And unfortunately, we've not been having any meetings at the city hall because of the size limitation there. So yes, believe me, we have looked at every different option, and we're
Yeah.
still exploring others to see what we can do to make
Okay.
it work.
Wherever you have the most bandwidth,
It's bandwidth as well as some other technical things which I won't go into because that's not my area of expertise, but there are several challenges with holding both a virtual and a in-person meeting at this facility due to certain equipment that we don't currently have at this facility.
Okay. So I will just, Mr. Chair, make sure that everyone knows I have the report in my hand. So if anyone is interested in having information from that, I can share that with you if it takes a while for us to get where we can have
Might I
whatever meeting.
request that you provide a copy to us? And
Yes.
I'll be happy to share it with the
And
board.
let me make sure I have the final, because they were doing minor tweaks as of the day of the council meeting. I was like out of my mind going, okay, which thing is what? But yeah, that would be fine.
Thank you.
it'd be good if it could be posted somewhere.
Well, it's really big. It's like 365 pages. So you can't even just email it to
So
anybody.
it is bigger than this report, right?
Dropbox
a
links
Dropbox.
are easy enough.
It's really a big file. so.
Now, this is the survey that was done?
Yes, this is the update to the 1993 architectural survey that was done. The one that we wrote the grant for to move that up forward, so it's now complete. And when the consultants do that, which I didn't really realize, I guess I did realize, I just didn't pay enough attention in the 1993, they make recommendations after they update the files. So all the new properties are in there with the master site file filed at the state level. And trust me, the state really paid attention because they made them go back and tweak some stuff, so that was very interesting. So you have that, all the properties that are like from the 70s back is now on there. And they identified, which we already knew and have been moving some of that forward, they also identified, I believe it's 19 structures that can go on the National Register if applied for, and also identified that the historic district can go on the National Register. And with that, I will update you. I did write a grant, the Historic Preservation Grant, the same as we got for the inventory survey, to be able to apply at June, I think it is, of next year, for the district to be on the National Register. And we did get ranked for funding. It's just now they have to figure out how the funding looks when it goes through the legislature. But we'll see how that goes. But we do have that will be coming forward. And the state already contacted me about it, even though we put the application in for the grant. They're ready to assist us in making that application. So that's moving forward.
Oh, great. And I was hearing architectural standards. I heard in the conversation
The city has architectural standards. That's what was
for
mentioned.
the district.
For non-commercial or for non-residential.
No, we do not have specific design guidelines for our historic district. That was one of the goals that was on our list in the very beginning, but we never moved in that direction.
I thought somebody was working on that.
We have non-residential standards citywide, and we're also working on residential standards. But as Ms. Stark said,
Not as
we do not have historic preservation architectural standards
Right.
at this time.
So,
I think the city may have room or the ability to accommodate documents that big on their service, because sometimes their agenda packets are 300 pages long.
Yeah, it's more about me getting it to them.
Well, on a DVD or CD,
Oh, yeah, I can't do that.
or on a thumb drive.
Andre knows the
We'll take-
challenge. We'll
we
figure
will
it out.
be happy to assist you in
Yeah.
getting a copy of the report.
And also, I wanted, tonight, I brought flyers for you all for the Breakfast with the Pros series that we do every year, because as we were lining up our speakers, we did ask Christine Dalton, and you all have met Christine. She was the historic preservationist in Sanford that came and did a presentation with us. She will be our speaker in December, and she will be speaking to our inventory update, because she was part of the process. So she's going to be part of that, and I want to invite all of us to be there, because we're going to put a significant effort into getting the community there, because that's one of the things we need to do is outreach, especially those people who have businesses and or homes in the historic district, because we need to start letting them know what's going on. So we were going to share that. So there may be some role, Andre, that we want to combine with Christine being there to discuss the survey or whatever. There may be something from staff that we want to present at that time as well. So.
And Olive said that this week's meeting was fantastic.
What, this morning or when?
Was it this morning?
Well, we had one this morning.
Yeah, she said it was fantastic.
Good, I'm glad she liked it.
Enjoyed it.
So anyway, they're here so that you have the dates and everything. I'll give them to you after the meeting if that's okay.
Mr. Deerlick, I think Ms. Bryant needs your attention.
Yes.
so in regards to some of the things that we've been discussing, and I know Paula and I both raised concerns as far as the existing schedule, and you as well said that we can put additional meetings. My concern, of course, is that we did present some goals. We haven't gone through those, developing the architectural standards for our historical district. So how do we move forward with some of those things and making sure that they're on our agendas for us to go through first? And if we do need to have those additional meetings, how is that addressed, that we move forward with those?
Might I respond? So this board, I would expect, would set the priority for what you want to see brought forward, and then we would evaluate that against our staffing and capabilities and present those items back to you. Each item that you request us to work on takes a little bit of time. So if at this meeting you said you want goals to be addressed, it wouldn't happen at the next meeting, but it would happen, we would say we can get it in 3 months or 6 months or whatever the time frame might be based on some reasonable expectations. So, it's for the board to identify what they want to go through. My recollection was there were several things you wanted to look at the matrix, you wanted to look at the goals, you wanted to look at the bylaws. So there is quite a few things, and I think we probably need to have a meeting to talk through those things and determine what's your priority, and then we can go from there and then identify which ones you should handle first.
I'm going to put out right now, I think our design guidelines is going to be a number one priority.
Okay?
I mean, we had our guy here, and we're talking about basically the look of the building, but we have no guidelines to hold him to.
I agree.
So that, we need something that's defensible, that we say, these are the guidelines, this is what that you're expected to follow, kind of thing. And then if they veer off that, then it, then it comes here, and then we have to decide. But there should be something in place versus, well, I like that, I don't like that. I mean, we've run into this problem, and we have to make sure it's not what our personal likes, but it's what our standards are holding us to.
Absolutely. So also understand that regardless of what standards are established, our system is set up where items that are considered significant will still come to this board for
Right.
approval regardless. But we will have definitive guidelines, as you say, for us to review against and say whether it's consistent or not consistent. But when they're making proposed changes, it will still need to come to this board based on the ways our bylaws are currently written.
Mr. Chairman, I agree with you. Paula, where would we look? Does Sanford have historical standards? I mean, remember we were doing the historic ordinance. We looked, what was it, Delray or somewhere down Boynton somewhere? Those places
Boynton Beach
down
was the
there,
one
yeah?
we looked at when we were
Yeah.
writing the ordinance.
Have
And
you-
Andre came in on the, that's kind of when he started.
Right.
Just understand, we do have drafts of that. It was just
Yeah.
kind of put off to the side because there were so many other things going, and staffing was a little low at the time, and so we were trying to do multiple things, and this board didn't seem to have that on the front burner at that point. It seems to be now on the front burner. We are happy to pick it back up again and bring it back to you.
Well,
Well,
here-
I
here's
don't
our
know
real,
if
I'm
it's fair
sorry.
to say that that's not necessarily on our front burner. I think that the majority of the time, we've been getting notices that the meeting's canceled or the meeting's canceled, so I don't know that to be fair, that we've had the time to come together and meet that. So I don't know about the
Yes,
front burner.
so let me correct that statement, that it was not on your front burner, it was not on our front burner, because staffing was low, and we could not meet the needs of this board, Planning Commission, City Council, Board of Adjustment. There's several boards
Fair
that
enough.
we respond
Fair
to,
enough.
so
Thank you.
it wasn't our front burner, I apologize.
Thank
Just,
you. Fair
just
enough.
development alone had you slammed, given your
Yes.
staffing level.
Yeah.
The one thing to understand from an architectural, historic architectural design standard, we just now are getting the report for an inventory, which should be a major element in deciding what it is that your design standards need to hit. Because the architectural standards that the city has in place are classical in nature to begin with, which is what most of your historic architecture is going to be hitting anyway. So what you're really looking at from a historic district guideline is to understand what you actually have in the district, what makes it special, and what it is that you're trying to blend in or avoid conflict with. So it's not that, it needs to be in the front burner. I mean, it needs to integrate as things are coming in. We're just now getting the report of the inventory, and that is a major element that we have to look at. Until we as a board see that, I don't know how we can even begin to decide what the district guidelines should be.
Well,
So
and that's why it
unfortunately,
was important.
I have not seen this report, so we are unaware of what the inventory update is at this time. First time that I heard or saw of it was at the presentation that was given to the city council. So I'm looking forward to getting a copy so we can see what's in there and be able to prepare some standards based on that.
Okay, anybody else?
If I may, Chair, I just wanted to read into the record that member Elizabeth Lemug arrived at 6:04 p.m., so she was part of the board tonight. Just want to make that on record.
Okay. All right. Anything else? All right. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second?
Oh, second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Motion to meeting adjourned. Guess we'll do our pledge.